do autistic people have a shorter life expectancy than non-autistic people? Well, apparently yes. And I'm talking about autistic people with no learning disabilities. I suppose that previously would have been called high functioning autism or level 1 autism. However, I just like to call it autism without any learning difficulties. Can't even get my words out. So that would be me, for example. So yes, apparently we have a higher rate of suicide, a much higher rate of suicide. And to be honest, I'm not surprised. I mean, it's horrific, but it's tough being an autistic person over the years. It's challenging. You have things like masking, where you're constantly trying to put out what people want to see back. So instead of being your normal, authentic self, you're constantly living behind a mask, exactly what it sounds like, and putting out in the world what you think people want to see. So copying other people in social situations, and that is very, very tiring and very draining, and it really does take its toll mentally on you. Things like social isolation. Autistic people aren't perhaps as gregarious or out there as other people. And okay, I'm generalising, okay, everyone's different. But they may become isolated, which again is going to lead to mental health difficulties. Yeah, it's challenging, you know, when you're constantly trying to fit a round peg in a square hole, and that's you, and as an autistic person in a non-autistic world, in a neurotypical world. So I myself have considered suicide. I've never attempted suicide. I know other autistic people that have, and I know other non-autistic people that have, and of course it's not, you know, exclusive to autistic people. But I think autistic people can also get very much sort of stuck in a loop as well. So can often get stuck in a loop of thought. So if you start thinking about something like self-harm or suicide, it can be quite difficult to get out of that loop of thought, and it can become very much your reality. So I think that's also tough, and just a lack of understanding. You know, people are cruel, and kids can be cruel, adults can be cruel, and if you're already struggling to fit in, then people are cruel to you, it's just going to make you feel even worse. So yeah, it is a challenge being autistic. I think having support is a must. I'm very, 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 very thankful to have my husband as a support. He's also autistic, but we are very different in our autistic ways, which is good, because it means that things that don't bother me so much I can help him with, and vice versa. So we do kind of, although we sort of overlap, as most sort of autistic people do, we have similar difficulties. We balance each other out, which is really helpful. So seeking support, if you don't have anyone around you, I imagine that that's very tough, but please seek support, because it can be really lonely, and when you get into that situation, that's when mental health suffers. So yeah, always seek support. If you haven't got any family or friends that can help you, then seek support from professionals, or, you know, people like the Autistic Society. Reach out to people so that you are not alone. Support and advocate for yourself as well. I say that a lot in my videos, is if you don't advocate for yourself, no one else is going to advocate for yourself. So make sure you know what you need. So if you know that you struggle with fluorescent lights, for example, then make sure you don't go into places as much as possible that have those lights. Or in the workplace, if you know that something makes you feel uncomfortable, then speak to your employer about it. Become part of your union if you have a union within your occupation. Then become part of your union, join up, because that can be really, really useful. I know from my own experiences, I didn't know I was autistic at the time, but I used to work many years ago for the Department of Work and Pensions, and I joined my union on the advice of someone else, and I'm really glad I did, because I got very sick, and I didn't know it was all to do with my autism, but I was able to have a lot of help from my union and a lot of accommodations. I did eventually leave because I didn't want to stay anyway, but I did get a lot of accommodations, and that was all through the union. So if you do have a union, I advise that that would be a good thing to be a part of. So yeah, unfortunately, autistics do have a sort of lower life expectancy in that respect. I think if you've got support, and you've got you make considerations for yourself, you advocate and you accommodate for yourself, then absolutely there's no reason why you can't live as long as the next person. But yeah, you need to really take care of yourself, because without your health, physical and mental, emotional health, then you don't have anything. That is the most important thing. So please look after your autistic friends and family members. Please look after everyone, because everyone should be kind, no matter if you're neurodivergent or neurotypical. But be kind, because it is a challenging world out there for autistic people, and sometimes you know, we might need a little extra consideration. And ask us if there's anything you can do, because that's always nice to be asked. Don't just assume about things. And don't always assume that we're going to come forward with it, because a lot of the time it can be really challenging to even articulate our emotions. So yeah, that's my thoughts on autism and dying early. Let me know what you think about the subject. Yeah, okay. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching. See you soon.